Hey everyone, I'm John Grimsmo, and this is my brother Eric Grimsmo.
Hello!
And this is a much needed knife making Tuesday. It's been many weeks since we've done one before, and it's definitely time for an update. I've been getting a lot of emails from people who have a pre-order in already and want to know what the heck's going on because we just haven't done any videos. Just been super duper busy with work and life and everything, and that's not much of an excuse, but that's all you're going to get. So I want to go over two things in this video. First is just like an update. I want to show you guys the stuff we've been up to, and then second thing is what Eric's working on right now is more bending of the blades. The last video, I think, was week 74. We talked about bending the blades soft, as in pre-heat treat, and now we're doing it after heat treat, and I'll talk about that later. Anyway, time for an update. Okie doke, so we got stacks and stacks of parts. Go ahead, Eric. Tons and tons of blades. There's a Damascus one. Blades. There's somewhere over 120 blades in various stages of completion. Handles kind of paired up and all deburred and scotch braided. But I've showed handles quite a few times before. More handles. I've been working on clips a lot. I've made like 160 clips. This is probably only half of that. So some of them had a good burr right there. It's really tricky to machine these.
Right there?
Right there, yeah. Up in her. Yeah, these can be really tricky to machine so that they don't have any burrs on them, but that's what the new grinder is for.
Giggity.
Doesn't look like a grinder without a belt and a front wheel on it. Anyway. So yeah, clips, and then a whole bunch of blades. These ones are totally ready to go to the tumbler. That's a great example. Halfway scotch braided edge.
It'll buff out.
And here's the last thing of clips that I still have to finish. So I machine them in a big sheet like this, and I start with the back side. And then...
Oh, do they know about the noise that they just heard?
Oh, they don't. Anyway, so that's clips. Still got to finish this one. And that noise that you just heard, I don't know if you did hear it, but start there, move to there, gas line, what up? There we go. We just got a new propane radiant heater installed in the shop about a week and a half ago, and boy, oh boy, is it ever fantastical. While Eric looks to be all dressed up and warm, I'm just in a thin sweater and no hat. So,
No long johns, though.
No long johns, yeah, that's good. So Eric says he's just wearing a hat to keep the hair out of his eyes.
Damn, hippie hair.
Hippie hair, yeah. But anyway, this heater is awesome. If you don't know how a radiant heater works, do a quick Google and I'm sure it'll be obvious. But I mean, this is set up with two tubes, basically a that way tube and then a return tube. The return tube just goes out. And there's like a 6-foot long flame in the top one here that just radiates heat to that first pipe. And then the pipe just gets super duper hot and just bakes heat downward onto the concrete and the mill and everything else in the shop and the people and everything. And then all this stuff radiates heat upwards. So the concrete itself is actually somewhat warm as opposed to being frozen. So yeah, it's a balmy 15 degrees Celsius in here. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit right now, but
63 1/3.
63 1/3 according to math genius here. But anyway, it's super duper nice being warm and not freezing, and it threw me off for like the first week. Every time I'd come out here and open the door, I'd already have my hat and my big sweater on, and I'd come out here and be like, it's warm. It's not cold. My hands don't hurt when I work anymore. So that's pretty awesome. It was quite expensive, but worth every single penny. Next step is to actually insulate the garage so that it holds the heat and that this thing's not running all the time. But for now, I mean, we're warm and happy, so happy is good. Happy equals more knives.
More usable hours in the day.
Yeah.
Before our hands go numb.
Yeah.
I find grinding with numb, frozen fingers does not turn out well.
No. You can't feel the difference between blade and finger.
Between having skin and not having skin.
Yeah. Okay, what other kind of update stuff? Today I just made more pivots. Last time I made pivots, I sort of messed these ones up. But I just went back and fixed this whole batch this morning. So now we actually have usable pivots. And the past couple days, over the weekend, we've been making 210 of these lock bar stabilizers. I think I've got a video of this from the past, but basically these are a variation of the Hinderer lock bar stabilizer. Except mine just go on the inside and they're way nicer and cleaner, but way trickier to make. So it's a trade-off.
And they don't do everything that the Hinderer does.
That's true. The Hinderer has an added benefit, but
Yeah.
that's good for him. I don't need that. But anyway, so it's got his name, Hinderer LBS, engraved on it, and I've got it with a license and everything, so properly licensed to use them. I actually showed them to Rick Hinderer at one of the knife shows, and he thought they were really cool, just very finicky and tough to make, so it makes sense that he's doing it his way. But anyway, they go on the inside of the handle here, in this little recess. It's got a tiny little threaded hole that doesn't go all the way through, which makes it very tricky to make. And if I'm lucky, these two happen to fit together perfectly. They do, like a glove.
That's not luck.
Yeah, that's not luck, that's skill. Anyway, point being, show you on even better. Let me show you on a finished knife here. You can see that little speck of bronze inside there? That is a finished one. Right inside there in front of my thumb, so that as you're disengaging the lock bar can't move farther than that, which is all it needs to do to close the blade. And that way you're not overbending it and ruining the spring tension that we so perfectly set in here. And it's just cool. Speaking of which, here is one of the finished knives from this batch. This happens to be number 155, just kind of randomly. Orange peeled, anodized blue, honeycomb, polished blade, bronze accessories and stuff. Yeah, this one's going out to a customer, just waiting to get paid. Alright, so we have been starting to ship the first few knives from this batch. The ones that don't require tumbling, don't require any really fancy stuff, acid etch blade or anything like that. So
The ones we could finish all in-house as soon as possible.
yeah. So if you haven't heard from me, then maybe we're working on your knife, maybe not. But either way, we're working on the whole batch right now, and it's going pretty good. Just a little bit behind schedule, this is
As usual.
This is a huge batch for us to be working on, We're probably working on more knives in this batch than we have cumulatively so far, which is pretty neat. So, yeah, there's my quick update. And now, let's see what Eric is working on. Okay. So, in my last video, I explained how I bent all the blades so that they'd be relatively straight before heat treat. What happened after heat treat?
They worked.
A lot.
Yeah, most of them worked. I think most of these were pretty well straight, so that's why they're done already. Bunch of these were almost straight, and then the rest of them were like really, really warped. Some up to 18 thou warp,
Yeah.
and like even our Damascus blades were warped, and that kind of is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, that sucks. They're very expensive and hard to make and all that.
But I got them.
But you got them. So, this is my first knife, my knife number 1. You can see that the blade is slightly off-center to the right. If the blade is warped, it's going to show up off-center like that. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say if it's warped like 5 or 6 thou, it'll look about like this. Just a little bit off-center. And so that's 5 or 6 thousandths of an inch. And quite a few of them were over that.
Yeah.
Like, and some of them up to 18 thou, which is completely unusable. So, I mean, we've been like stressing our brains trying to figure out how we're going to fix all these warped blades. Do we have to make new ones? Do we have to throw these away? Whatever.
Try to tickle them with the surface grinder or like reheat them.
Yeah, there's quite a few options and stuff that people have talked about, but even surface grinding them, you know, if you suck them flat on the magnet, it doesn't work because you're taking even amounts off of both sides. They're still warped. You know, it's like a cup, and if you put a spacer underneath, you got to chop the whole top off and then the whole bottom off, and then you're taking off a ton of material, which doesn't work for our design either. So, out of desperation, I decided to try to bend one just to see. Like, I've tried it before and they flex, but then they bend right back. So I sort of had it in my head that you can't effectively bend a heat-treated blade because they would just spring right back. So, as I said, out of desperation, I just tried to do it and see what would happen. If I break one, I break one. It's a learning experience, right? So I did, and it didn't break.
Yeah.
I tapped it once and it didn't do anything. Tapped it twice harder and then it bent a little bit, and I went harder again and it overbent. So I proved a point, you know.
Yeah.
So here we have, I think a 1 ton or a 3/4 ton arbor press, and just a vise chuck here, some flat surface. And these are the same pieces of cardboard that I used on my first out of desperation check.
I had to replace one.
So I mean, there's better ways to do this, but if it works, it works.
It's working this time.
All right, so explain what's going on here.
First of all, so this tip is warped up that way.
Okay.
So I just flip it.
Yeah, you're touching the high side on the middle.
Yeah, and there's a hole in the middle here.
Okay.
Cardboard, just to not scratch it up too much more than they already are.
Hang on, let me zoom in close so I can see that tip go up. Ready?
You try to be kind of gentle, but
And then he's just looking for daylight.
yeah.
Make sure there's no garbage underneath it, no dust.
A little bit more.
So he's holding it by the pivot,
Yeah.
just like I said in the last video, because that's how the knife is going to hold it.
And now that one, it took away a little bit of the warp, so I'm just doing it in a slightly different spot because the warp kind of moved more to the tip, but there was less of it. So
And you can see he's putting a good amount of weight into it, but
yeah,
he's not like putting his entire body weight on it.
no, not at all. Getting there.
So then he's got this set of shims, metal shims, that he can actually measure the warp. He's holding it with his thumb on the pivot point.
Yeah, so that's still just around or over 3 thou.
Okay.
And I do it until the 2 thou won't go under, and then I call it good.
Yeah.
Less than 2 thou.
It's as straight as we're gonna get them for now.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, if I go any further, then it'll just start bending the other way, and then I get into this battle of going back and forth and
Yeah.
want to pull my hair out.
Well, you could use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that we could actually bend these heat-treated blades and get away with it. And I haven't broken one yet, although Eric had some fun experiences this morning.
It was one that had material accidentally taken away.
Yeah, I accidentally made a mistake when machining this, so I had to clean it up and just cut this gouge out of it anyway. But yeah, so Eric was trying to bend this one and Chris snap. Yeah, no big deal.
But that was on, like, the first push down.
It was going to break anyway.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's not a good idea. It kind of makes sense that it broke right here. It's the thinnest part of the blade where it gets from thin to thick right there, and it just goes all the way up to the weak point there. Makes sense. I don't mind. We made more blades than we needed anyway, so it's probably a good habit to get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they all have 2 thou of warp, I think they'll look great in the handles, I think.
Mm-hmm. And we can always bend them a little bit more if we have to.
Yep. Yeah, even last minute during assembly, if we see that it looks a little bit off center,
Yeah.
then we can just tweak it a little bit to the side.
But right now, going through more than 100 of them,
Yeah, I mean,
they're good enough at a certain point.
yeah. Alright guys, so that's all I've got for right now. I just want to get this video on the line and get it posted up on YouTube, and then I'll be doing more in the next couple days for sure. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.